Hello, teachers and makers of the future. It's Sandy again. You know, when I started teaching, I had no idea about the many adjustments that would await me. And I'm sure that some of you feel the same way. When I was young, Pluto was a planet, and everything had a proper place in the world. At school, we were taught facts, we memorized them, and we passed our exams. It was a safe, predictable world. I grew up without television or computers, and all the answers that I needed could be found in books. These days, I have a small disk lying beside me, and it answers everything I need to know. The world of education is very different now, and it will continue to change and evolve. In my last video, I mentioned how unprepared we were for the changes that the coronavirus brought to the planet. COVID-19 closed us down. Many teachers and university lecturers suddenly had to learn new skills to start teaching online. We faced really big dilemmas. How do we reach all of the children if they're not all digitally equipped? How can we be sure that the children are doing their own work and covering the necessary learning? And how on earth do we assess work that we've never actually seen? When the children could return to school, classrooms looked very different. Equipment and desks could no longer be shared. Social distance had to be observed, and this meant that classes had to be broken into smaller units, and teachers had to teach the same lessons over and over again. Somehow we adapted. Somehow we made the first year, and the children learnt and grew. Perhaps in different ways from the old normal, but here we are. And we know that on a daily basis, anything could change. But now we are more prepared and we manage because we have learnt to adapt and to cope with change. We have become heroes and warriors. Some thinkers believe that the ability to adapt to unexpected change is more important than one's IQ or even one's EQ, because change is going to speed up as the world becomes more digitally active. Remember Pluto, that used to be a planet? In 1930, Pluto was declared a planet. We all learned that, believed it, and some of us taught it. In 2006, it was momentously demoted and is no longer a planet at all. Every science textbook written before that date was suddenly incorrect. And so it will be with many facts as time passes. As technology makes new knowledge possible and as our own thinking changes, different alternatives will open up to us. Facts have become fluid, and one truth no longer exists. Where does that leave us as teachers? How are we going to build the future generations of the world when even a 6-year-old can Google an answer and often prove us wrong? How do we know what to teach? We are entering what has already been called the Fourth Industrial Revolution. This is described as a period of rapid and uncontrolled change that is yet unpredicted. That word uncontrolled worries me a little. No, it worries me a lot. Artificial intelligence will play a big role and the digital world will gain significance. We just can't predict how this will happen. And that worries me too. 10 short years ago, no one would have believed that you could sit in a chair and in a few minutes use one small device to book a plane ticket, order a taxi, choose a film to watch, quickly pay your accounts, and order dinner to be delivered. Bearing that in mind, who can possibly predict where we'll be in 10 years' time? And it is in 10 years' time that the children whom we teach now will begin to be the adults who will eventually make the the major decisions that will control world history. They will be entering a world where 65% of today's jobs no longer exist, and 50% of the companies that function today are predicted not to be around anymore. How do we help our children to be more adaptable to their changing futures while we are still grappling with adapting to change ourselves to accommodate the present? In a world that changes so rapidly, literally from one day to the next, we can give children no greater gift than to teach them to think for themselves and to learn adaptability. Hey Google, why does one need to learn adaptability?
On the website lane4performance.com, they say, adaptability is a soft skill that means being able to rapidly learn new skills and behaviors in response to changing circumstances.
Thank you, Google. The COVID pandemic has stretched human adaptability, and on a daily basis, we've all had to change. And you can all relate to that because each one of you has had to adapt. So what do we teach? We can begin by asking children questions that start with what if. What if? What if? So that we open them up to imagining the possibilities of their own uncertain futures. We can encourage them to see the world through someone else's eyes so that they remain human in a world that is fast becoming a slave to technology. And we can encourage them to consciously, continually learn so that they are well equipped to deal with change. And while we're doing this for children, we should also very actively be doing it for ourselves. Because as we've so recently learned, everything could change in the flash of a pandemic. Remember the importance of your work. You are the makers of the future. Take care of yourselves and stay safe. I'll see you again.